Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I am mostly focusing on content for the game Genshin Impact, and today we're gonna look at a guide that I've compiled for Thoma. Thoma is the newest 4-star character in Genshin Impact, and he has debuted on Hitao's banner. He's a pyro user who wields a pole arm as well as creates a shield for both his elemental skill and burst, which makes him the first character who can stack his shield. In this video we're gonna be looking at the roles he has in the different teams, what are his best artifact sets, the weapons, how his shield works, and what kind of weapons and artifacts you need for your preferred role in the team. Officially he's made as a support, and as I've come to notice while I did both roles, DPS and support, he really shines as a support. If you want to be DPS, I'm still gonna give the recommendations that you have to do. DPS is really forced and not recommended, but still, we're gonna do it. It is the 4-piece of Crimson Witch, and it decreases overload and burn damage by 40% as well as wave and melt damage by 15%. Additionally, you get a 50% pyro damage bonus from the 2-piece. This will support Thoma's damage as itself. Since you want him to be the DPS in the team, you only focus on Thoma's damage, which means you will have to focus on attack, crit damage and crit rate, the usual thing you do with sub DPS and main DPS. You should use a crit damage or crit rate hat, a pyro damage cup, and either an attack or ER sense so that you can still get around the problem of his high energy cost, which we come later to. The second category are the support artifact sets, and we have two that I found are the best options. We have the 4-piece of Noblesse Bleach, which grants 20% elemental burst and 20% attack after you have casted the elemental burst to your other party members. Since he's a support and Thoma is mostly an off-field support, you could do his elemental skill, do his elemental burst, and then switch to your DPS. When you do that, the DPS will have an increased attack, and Thoma's elemental burst from before is gonna be much higher. They're gonna be 20% higher in damage than they usually would. And on top, your DPS is gonna do 20% more attack than he or she usually would. The other set you could use is the Emblem of the Severed Fate, which helps you with the energy recharge. It gives you 25% energy recharge as well as increases the burst damage by 25%, and in that way you can obtain 75% of damage. When you run Thoma as a support, you should run an energy recharge sense, an HP cup so that the amount of damage that can be absorbed by your shield is increased. I would put an HP hat on him so that your HP is going the highest. For your substats, just focus on energy recharge as much as possible and HP. Let's go over the weapons. The first one, which is probably the best one, but the hardest to obtain, is Engulfing Lightning. It increases the attack by 28% of the energy recharge you have in the moment. You also gain maximum of 80% attack bonus and 30% energy recharge after the elemental burst. That means when you did your burst, you gain 30% of the energy recharge back, and if you combine that with the Emblem of Severed Fate, Thoma's Q is constantly gonna be up, which also equals to a constant amount of shields. We also have Staff of Homer, which increases your HP by 20%, which is really good if you have problems with getting HP substats or you don't want to run HP main stats. The FTP friendly one is the Catch. It increases your elemental burst damage by 16%, and after that you have 6% more crit rate. It also increases your energy recharge by 45%, which means you don't have to run the Emblem of Severed Fate. You could, for example, run the 4-piece of Noblesse Bleach. Lastly, probably the best one if you don't want to spend money or if you don't want to grind fish. There is Prototype Star Glitter. It increases the normal and charge attack by 16% for 12 seconds and gives you 45% ER as well. That means you only lose the elemental burst damage, but you get equal amounts of energy recharge. Now we're off to team comms, and there are two teams I want to recommend because these are the two teams I've actually been playing since I've gotten Thoma last week. The first one is my favorite team. It is comprised of Child, Thoma, Kazuha and Bennett. In this team, Child is the main DPS, Thoma can be run as a sub DPS with the elemental burst, increased damage, as well as shield. Kazuha is a support and Bennett is built as a support as well. In this team, you have Pyro Resonance from Thoma and Bennett, which increases your attack by 25%. You have Swirl from Kazuha, which will increase Child's damage. And you have Vaporize, that is being procced by either Child or Thoma. First, attack the enemy with Child, so that I can swirl it with Kazuha, which will increase Hydro damage. I drop Bennett's Q for the attack bonus as well as the healing. Kazuha's Burst, Thoma's E skill for the first shield, Thoma's Q for the main shield, and then I just use Child and smash into the enemy. The good thing is that Child will not be interrupted. He can constantly attack the enemy. Pyro is being swirled, which also increases that I'm definitely gonna get some vaporizing here and there. And it's pretty easy to tear down the enemy.
Everybody stand back! Set clouds high. The birds, don't get too close. Supporting fire! Shouldn't let your guard down.
The second team I want to recommend is Hu Tao, Thoma, Xingqiu and Kazuha. In this team, Hu Tao is main DPS, Thoma is a complete shield, Xingqiu is for the reactions and Kazuha as well. For this team you have the Pyro Resonance, which again increases your attack by 25% due to Hu Tao and Thoma. Xingqiu helps Hu Tao do the vapor reactions. Kazuha swirls Pyro. For this team, you attack the enemy with Thoma's E, creating a shield, and applying Pyro to the enemy. This way you can swirl with Kazuha and get more Pyro damage. You use Xingqiu's Q, switch to Hu Tao, use her E, and then attack the enemy, dealing Pyro damage and vapor reactions. On top of it, Hu Tao is getting shielded by Thoma. You have to run Hu Tao on lower HP so that her damage is increased. And she is not gonna take damage, so you're always in a safe spot. Her HP is already so low, it's not gonna take much for the enemy to kill her, which is really annoying, especially if she is your DPS. But with Thoma, he's not gonna steal any reactions from her since they are both the same element, and you can just peacefully work on the enemy and continue doing the damage. If it happens that the E is up again, you can sometimes switch to Thoma, use his E again to stack the shield. Which gets us to the next topic. I've seen a lot of people that don't understand how Thoma's shield works. Thoma has a really unique mechanic because his shield can stack. For example, you first use his E for the shield. If you pop his Q, his shield gets stronger because he already had the E implied. This way, your damage absorption is gonna stack. You always have to do his E first, then you do his Q, you switch to your DPS or whoever you want to be shielded. Keep in mind how long his cooldown is, go back to Thoma, use his E, maybe you can do it once or twice depending on how your energy recharge is. Or maybe you are lucky and your energy recharge is already so high up that he can do his Q again. Let's talk about the weaknesses and strength of Thoma. He is not easy to build at all, and I've noticed a lot of people who've benched him immediately for that reason. His burst is really high with an energy cost of 80%. It would be recommended to have a battery character in the team or have an ER weapon or Emblem of Soviet Fate. If you do not want one of these options, you have to have a battery in the team. I ran Thoma for a couple of days without any of this, and it took so long to get his burst up. I basically could do nothing with his shield because it was never there. Now the reason why it is so hard to run is massive DPS. If you take Emblem of Severed Fate, you will lose a lot of damage on your normal attacks since he's only meant as a support. If you want to run him as DPS, you either have to sacrifice the main stat attack and change it into an ER, or you need to have godlike ER substats. The last weakness, which is only bad depending on what characters you pair him with, is his Eternal Cooldown. An Eternal Cooldown means for characters that deal off-field damage that they will not constantly attack according to the attacks of your active character. Thoma's Eternal Cooldown is 1 second. So now in my case, I'm a child main and I've paired Thoma with child. Child's Hydra attacks are the fastest Hydra applications in the game. Depending on how fast I click, I have 2-3 attacks, 2-3 applications in 1 second. But Thoma's Eternal Cooldown prevents the vaporizing to happen from child, which means Thoma constantly steals the vaporizing. If I don't build him to do damage, the vaporizing from Thoma is not going to be big. You see the issue. He's constantly stealing child's vaporizing. It is hell. If they would have taken the Eternal Cooldown away, and a lot of people thought that that would not happen, he would literally be a piracy show. And he would be incredible for child and perhaps be even better than Shangli. He does have strength. And Thoma's biggest strength is his off-field support and the way you can stack his shield. With the right build, as I have said, you will constantly have the shield up, and it's really good for certain characters. You can do some melting, for example with Ayaka. You can do the whole thing that I showed you with Tao. She's not gonna get any reaction stone because they are the same element. So it almost feels like Thoma was made for pirate DPSs. So with all this information to take in, what do I recommend? For a DPS, I still recommend you should do the 2-piece Noblesse Oblige, 2-piece Crimson Witch, or you do a 4-piece Crimson Witch, depending on if you want your Vaporize, Melt, Overload, all your reactions to be bigger, if you want Elemental Burst damage in general, which comes from the Noblesse Oblige 2-piece. And if you want to build him as a support, you can use the 4-piece of Noblesse Oblige or the 4-piece of Emblem of Severed Fate. Use the Catch or Staff of Thoma or Engulfing Lightning. In conclusion, if you build him the right way, Thoma can be a great shield to your active character and provide off-field support. I especially recommend him if you haven't built a shield character yet or have none at all in the game. You can work around his energy recharge costs if you use the Emblem of Severed Fate, or if you have an energy recharge weapon and stack HP, main stat and substats, so that his elemental burst is constantly up and his shield duration is increased. Overall, he's a character I personally would not bench and at least build for Spiral Abyss, because depending on the right characters, he can be a really great support. If you have any questions, leave them in a comment. Just let me know and I will get to your comments. Maybe I will do a guide on other characters. I hope you enjoyed this guide. Let me know what you thought and see you next time.